Yo, what's going on, guys? And of course, today we gotta talk about my boy Vasilije Micic, a guy I actually met personally, have interviewed. You guys can go check it out. You'll see clips, but you can check it out. Go on the playlist. But either way, let's talk about him. He cooked today in this game as LaMelo Ball was out with a calf injury, and let's just talk about it. So he came over last year, if you guys didn't know, and the Hornets did lose 99-98, but Micic showed what he could provide to a contending team. He was facing one of the better defenders in the NBA, and he put him on ice skates. Mikal Bridges literally didn't know what to do at the point of attack. Micic was eating him up, and Micic actually dished out more assists than he had in the previous 7 games combined tonight against the Knicks. He's a high level, he's got high level court vision. He's a good passer. He can play the 1 or the 2, but he's more suited for the 1 position. This is a guy who's a 2-time MVP in Europe. And his ball movement, his high level basketball IQ, were evident. And I know he's only averaging like 4 points a night, but last year to close out the season with the Hornets, he averaged like 8 and 8 points, 8 assists. And I think Micic's potential is being shown. He's been underutilized since coming to the NBA. He hasn't been correctly implemented on a team since coming to the NBA. And I think what we know about him is he's a table setter. He thrives as a facilitator. He has the skill that many playoff teams need for the guy to run their second units. His EuroLeague experience as a shot creator, as a scorer. Also in Europe, he averaged over 6 assists a game, are testaments what he can do offensively. And he's played in multiple championships. He can thrive in high stakes environments. And he's on a very manageable, like $7 million a year contract, I believe, with 1 more season on it. And I think he can seamlessly be incorporated to a lot of teams. So let's get right into today's video. Want to hear your thoughts down below. Do you guys agree with me? What teams should go out and get Micic? And don't you guys agree? This is why they need somebody like him to run the second unit. So let's talk about first the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks need some sort of life whenever Damian Lillard sits or Giannis sits. Like literally Dame and it would be a terrible defense, but Dame and Vasi could play together. But Vasi and Giannis would be insane. And Micic could, complement Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo by leading the second unit, provide that floor setting ability and playmaking. And I really do think Rivers' preference for veteran guards like Micic is actually something that would benefit him. Now, the Phoenix Suns, Monte Morris hasn't been what they wanted, so I think bringing in a guy like Micic with Tyus Jones would open up things for Brad, especially with Bradley Beal being a bit injury prone. It would open things up. Now it could actually be possible if Nick Richards gets healthy. You could hypothetically, and I know Jusuf Nurkic has been good, but Jusuf Nurkic isn't expiring. If they were willing, I think they have a 2nd round pick they can trade. Jusuf Nurkic, a 2nd round pick, maybe 2 2nd round picks. I just think Nick Richards is way more valuable than that. But Nick Richards and Vasi for Nurkic, because the Suns are in the apron, so they can't aggregate contracts. Same thing with the Bucks. That's the whole problem with all this. And I think Micic really could stabilize that bench, provide consistent ball handling, and facilitate and thrive in a system that emphasizes spacing and passing the basketball. Joe Mazzulla would love this guy. They're already a team that's rich enough. This would be if Peyton Pritchard was someone the Hornets really wanted. I think this is the Hornets calling up the Celtics and being like, here's Vasi and a protected pick. Bring in Pritchard. We want Pritchard. But he would just be a really good backup point guard for them. I think the Knicks would really like him. If they're trying to move Mitch Robinson's contract, and let's say Mitch Robinson isn't helping them, I think Mitch would really, really be a good contract to use for Micic. And again, going back to the thing, could you maybe even squeeze out a guy into that? Again, the Knicks are a team that is against the apron, so they wouldn't want to. I don't know how much they could aggregate contracts. The Miami Heat are another team that I think we've seen how Goran Dragic looked there with Eric Spoelstra. I think a very similar thing could work out with Micic. I think they're already doubling, but they want Terry Rozier to work, so I don't know if they would really do that. The Sixers, I think they need some help. Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid need some help. He could really thrive under like a Nick Nurse's structure. And the last one I think is Steve Kerr, Golden State. I would love to see a high basketball IQ guy like Mr. Micic go in there and just really take advantage of the system that they have. And what I meant to change these highlights like after 2 minutes, but that just didn't happen. So sorry about that. That unprofessional on my part. But what we were going to do was just put my video of when I interviewed him, which I thought was going to be way more accessible, but it's right here now. There we go. That's when I interviewed him. But yeah, so I think if you're a contending team, what do you guys think? I think just him being on a team that emphasizes ball movement, spacing, like a Spoelstra, like a Mike Budenholzer, like a Steve Kerr, like a Nick Nurse, he's going to do well there. I mean, you could even say Minnesota would like to get him. Chris Finch would love a guy like that. Now, whose contract? Some would say Dante DiVincenzo, but I think we just need to keep going there. I just think Vasilije Micic does not fit with Charlotte's, youth-centric plans, and his skill set and his experience makes him a prime trade candidate for any contending team. He's a cost-efficient player. He's going to be able to, bolster the depth of any contending team. And the Charlotte Hornets are, obviously in the first year of new head coach Charles Lee, that are focusing on developing their young talent. And he's had limited minutes. He's had limited usage this season. So again, this is a guy that if you're a contending team, you should just be looking at a cheap option for yourself. And I don't know, maybe I'm overzealous, but what do you guys think? I think it's a good deal. I would love to see him in Denver. We haven't talked about it. Denver is the one that we do want to. Denver and Dallas are the last two. And the problem with those two are the salaries, okay? And when we look at the salaries, we can just straight up see that it's going. Dallas is the hardest one for him to get to, and that's the Luka Doncic. The whole thing is though, if they were to do that, it would have to be Maxi Kleber that they'd have to trade. And I think a lot of fans would be perfectly fine with Maxi Kleber leaving. Maxi Kleber's played in 10 games this year. He's been kind of in and out of the rotation. His minutes been fluctuating, but he's been a staple there for what seems like 8 years now. But he would be straight up probably Kleber, maybe a second round pick attached for Dallas. Now you go over to Denver. Again, Kleber's just, it seems like they're really loyal to him and they've stood by him. So Dallas is the hard one, but it's a lot easier in terms of for Denver to get it done unless Zeke Nnaji really has no value. So Zeke Nnaji would be the contract. You would just straight up send Zeke. I think you would just argue, hey, Maxi Kleber and a second round pick might not be as good as Zeke. Straight up, and Zeke's played like barely any minutes this year, but he's only 23 and he's locked up for a few seasons. So yeah,